It's all I got left. Sold my clothes, gold no less. Was a circling, hollow hands. This man stronger than the average man. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pin. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pin. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pin. I'm not the bubble, I'm not the bubble. Day the markets take another dip to restart and refuel this moon boy ship. My dreams.
You're listening to Any Observation, the best NFT, crypto, and gaming podcast ever. With your host, Anders Bjork.
And we are now live. I hope the video, audio, and everything is on point. We have a new interface today on the stream, new overlay and everything. And we are joined here with Daniel. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. I think this is the first time we've ever chatted like face to face, maybe even in text conversation. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, probably. Like I've seen the Immersys project around since probably very early when it came. I've been wanting to play it as I said before, but I have not downloaded the launcher for a multitude of reasons, and we can go into that in a bit. Before that, let people, like, who are you, what brought you to Wax, and what are you guys doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came to Wax kind of just by a fluke. I tell a story. I mean, it was just on one random night. I had these like Ellie Blob like pixel art, and I was looking for just a way to sell digital assets on the web, like on the web. And for some reason that night, it took me to Atomic Hub, and I went through the whole entire process of making my first NFT. I didn't even watch a guide. I just like went through the process, listed my first NFT on the marketplace, and somebody bought it like instantly, because this is back in September of 2020. Yeah. So like kind of early, there wasn't much on the marketplace. Anything showed up, right? And it sold. And the guy DM'd me, he's just like, "Are you making any more of these? I want to buy them." And I was like, "Okay, let me make some more of these." And I like made more Ellie Blobs and put them on the marketplace for people to buy them. And then I spent like the next night just like wondering what the hell just happened. Like, what is going on? What is this? Looked into NFTs and felt like, whoa, this is some really cool, like the idea behind the digital ownership, the blockchain aspect of it, crypto, the authentication of it, the proof of verifications, all the different types of use cases that NFTs can provide, all kind of translated really well into what we were doing as a day job, which was this AR, VR aspect of things. We were doing a virtual office space for remote work during the pandemic. We felt like it could be a better alternative for like Zoom and any other kind of face calls like this, right? So that's what we were working on, and we were already kind of in that metaverse space, and we saw like the growing potential of these decentralized assets fitting really well to make like the perfect metaverse product, right? And that's kind of what happened. Is we went from Ellie Blobs to creating Immersys, and it was solely based off of the idea that it was solely based off of like this fluke of a find on my part, where there was just this added technology that could be incorporated in the whole idea of the metaverse, and that's how we ended up here.
So you wanted to build a more fun Zoom for people, and now you're building a more fun world for people, I guess.
Pretty much. I mean, it really did come down to that. I mean, this was a business to business. I mean, it was super functional, right? Like, honestly, that's how the whole idea got founded. Is we would sit in this 3D office space, and because you're in 3D, you can explain ideas a lot better. And I think people don't understand how cool a 3D space is when it comes to idea formation and creation and plotting out things. Because we could take a pen and draw in 3D space. So let's say we had an idea that's almost abstract, but you wanted to just kind of draw it out. You're never going to be able to draw it as well in 2D as you can in 3D. And like, we had a whole map drawn out inside of like a 3D space, and we were, moving like sticky notes in 3D space across an idea board. And just, I mean, it was literally planned in 3D. It was planned in the metaverse. We created a metaverse inside of a metaverse already. And it was a pretty unique experience, to be honest.
That is like, I can see how that is really nice for a creative process where you actually need to interact with each other, and you can better showcase what you're talking about, what you want to do, than sitting like a Zoom conversation. 2 people is fine, 3 people is fine, 4 works. Any bigger than that, and it's kind of annoying and confusing. So yeah, I can really see. But to use that, what kind of tools do you need to participate in a chat like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just an Oculus, and we kind of side-loaded the program on it. It wasn't like a designated app on the Oculus store, but it was a side-loaded, which is, once you kind of get into the whole AR, VR space, or the VR space, it's pretty common to side-load applications. It's pretty much like there's a Steam store, you download it, and then you just transfer the file onto it. That's kind of how you interact with the majority of apps that aren't like the centralized, had to get approved by everything, Facebook and all the checks and stuff like that. So it's just, think of it as like a Steam where you just pull it onto the VR headset and you're good to go. So everybody has that. You log into it, and you're just, you walk in, you teleport around, kind of sit down in your seat in the office. Everybody's around you. You get this feeling of like somebody else is in the room, because a lot of stuff kind of went totally remote, right? Like, you were no longer in the presence of others. You never really got that brand culture, right? You kind of lost all like the culture aspect of the business once you went to Zoom, right? You're no longer going in there and seeing the ads for your company. You're no longer kind of getting that personal interaction with the people that you're working with. So you lose a lot of it when you're not in, or at least have the feeling that you're in person with people. And I think that translates a lot into the metaverse, and why people focus so heavily on the immersion and the social aspect of it, and the community-based side of it, is because it's an important part of what makes it a successful, thing to even be doing, right? Like, if we went in there, and I know that there's a couple other types of metaverses where like they just have like a webcam sitting on like a stuck in place like body. Like, that's still not what you're looking for, right? Like, you're looking for, spatial sound. You're looking for like the ability to kind of move your hands and interact and talk and feel like somebody else is in the room. You don't want just another 2D.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess a middle ground for me would be a conference where you actually walk around, but your character is 3D, but you are behind your screen with a microphone. I don't know if you attended DigiCon so
I've been going to them for a while. Yeah.
And that feels like an entry point for people to experience that you can actually interact with people over the internet.
100%.
Which a gamer has known all along. Like, we gamers, we play together. Whatever we do, we voice chat. We do this, and we interact and build friendships over the internet. And that is something, if you're not a gamer, that is not something you can really grasp. And a good example for that is my girlfriend, which when we met, she wasn't a gamer, and then I started to introduce her to games like Diablo 3, World of Warcraft, and things like that, and then we went over and we started to playing some shooter games like PUBG, Fortnite, and Call of Duty and things like that. And after a while, she's like, wow, I have my first internet friends, because that was the people that we were playing with. Suddenly she felt like she could build a relationship over the internet, and she could relate to how gamers feel like their friends exist in another world. Like, she has never met them, but she really feels like they are her friends. And I think that will be the case for a lot of people. They don't know that you can actually interact over the internet, and it feels like you actually get to know the people that's on the other side.
Absolutely. And there's people that I've met directly through Immersys that the conversation and dialogue has continued, just because, I'm in there testing something, right? And then somebody spawns into the world we have this conversation, and now like I'll reach out to them for advice on a particular project. Like they'll have a conversation about a project in Wax or a game, and I don't know enough about it. So I ask for, some guidance because, I'm still got the little degenerate part of me where I'm willing to chuck some money at something that I think it could be something, right? So I'm always willing to like interact with people. You're right, though. I mean, this is something that as a gamer, exists, right? Yeah. Like this is, I played RuneScape since, I was maybe like 12 years old. Like that idea of like interacting with people on a global stage through a virtual, even if it's just text based, right? You can create relationships with people through that are meaningful. There's plenty of people that I've met in a game and have met in real life because I first met them in that game, and yeah. It's just it's real, and it's going to become more and more prominent as I think it gets more connected. Like I think we started with a text chat. That's a little anonymous and kind of creepy. But now once you like get into the fact that you're going to be able to talk to these people, get an idea of like their voice, which isn't anything necessarily new, but then once you start participating in like much more realistic real world activities, like you go out there and you're chopping trees, but like you're doing it in a VR headset, and your buddy's right next to you, like, and you feel as though their presence is right next to you, because in Xbox you knew you were in a room by yourself at the end of the day. But once you're in the VR and you're in these metaverses and there's a guy right next to you, it feels less like you're alone and that you're actually with this person now. So now you're getting that added. So you went from text to just audio to now audio in the presence of somebody else being next to you. And it just continues. And I feel like these relationships are going to I feel like it just continues to grow.
Yeah. And like, sure, I have very limited experience with VR at all. So I can't comment too much on that, but what I do feel like, if you play a long-lasting immersive MMORPG or a survival world where you like Rust and Ark and those kind of worlds, if you play with other people, you do feel like you are together in a different way compared to if you play a more passive, I don't know, single player game, or if you play COD or a game like that. You are not really with each other unless, okay, you can feel like that if you're in some kind of battle and stressful situation. But yeah, I guess I need to borrow a friend's VR headset and actually experience it that way as well.
100%, because I think that gives a really good idea of the vision of where Immersys wants to go. Like right now, we're solely focused on the desktop application, just because we can develop that at a faster rate rather than, because our team is still small. It's like, I mean, we're just like a startup, like any other company that's a smaller project on Wax, right? So do we have the resources to be developing two styles of the game at the same time? No, we have the resources to be developing the desktop version with the intention and complete design, architecture of the app to be able to be easily transitioned and ported over to VR support, pretty quickly afterwards. But yeah, so it's a wild idea. And I was kind of telling you, beforehand, like we have a lot, and I think a lot of people understand that there's a lot to Immersys. There's so many different aspects and different paths that it can take, that we sometimes need to kind of take a step back and figure out where we are going, right? And I'm curious to see how many teams feel the same way as us. Like, is it easier if you just had this one game and you developed it out and all the smart contracts and stuff are put together and you just what the theme of it is, right? It's not this metaversal all-encompassing idea. Do you still run into the same issues where you sometimes don't really know where to go next? And it's an interesting space to be in.
Yeah, it is for sure. And I actually think that even though your problem, because you can do so much, we got into this topic a little bit before we went live, but you can do so much with this concept compared to some other ideas that are being built. But what they do instead is they run into the problem that there is something new and shiny on another place, and they try to grab everything that is new and shiny, and they lose focus, and they don't really produce as good of a product as they should, because it is like you can do so much, it is so open, and that prevents you from focusing and grabbing your attention 100%. I think like it is very clear for you. Hey, you're building this metaverse. Is this gonna be a PvP world? Are you gonna have a PvE fighting world? Is this some kind of survivor game in the long term? Can I go and fight other people, and if I beat them, can I pick up their NFTs they have on them? Is that where this is going, or is this like an interactive world where people log in, they have discussions, event, you can go and watch a show, or you go to a shop there to order clothing home, or whatever you might do. It might be a mix of in real person or NFT and the metaverse. It's a lot of things to do, and that requires like so much you can do. You are a limited team, and we have a question there on CERN also. How big is your team? And yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, so we're 10 people currently. So it's we have two developers, a backend developer with multiple 3D artists, concept artists, and then more of like the admin side of things, like myself and our other owner.
Yeah, so you're a team, and like yeah, let's start there. Where are you heading with your project?
Yeah, so in the immediate focus, I mean, like the immediate focus, like where we feel we can kind of capture some people right now is definitely in the creator side of things. I think how we currently do creators, personally, I think we need to figure out how it can become a little bit more sustainable. Right now, I feel as though we're kind of doing this service for the Wax community, where we're offering them to import their NFTs into the world. This is great brand discovery. This is great opportunity to add additional utility and functionality to their NFTs that and personally just experience them in a different way, in a 3D space rather than a typical 2D website, right? I think we need to figure out how we can turn that into a much more sustainable thing for us, right? We're going to have to import NFTs into the game and bring those NFTs in, and they kind of get added to the file, right? Like that's part of the download process of it. But they offer, the ability for you to decorate your properties that you own inside the place, right? They allow you to sell products inside the place. So there's a ton of benefits. They also provide, this awesome opportunity for people to bring their community to our space, right? Through just saying, hey, our NFTs are in Immersys, right? Go check them out, come see it. So there's a ton of like really cool things that we want to kind of focus in on and trying to drill down what does that actually look like long term? What does this process look like? Because if you go to a different chain, right, they're charging $600 to like an insane amount for a single import, right? Where we're on a much lower end, and there's different models that you can come up with, right? Like you could do a service fee, you can do a commission fee on any kind of secondary sale of it, right? But it almost kind of feels like dirty, right, on the blockchain side, because you're pitching this image of digital ownership, right? People want to own what they're creating, and once you become a platform, that's really what a platform does, is they kind of like siphon off some of your value, and that's how they earn their value, right? So until we like figure out how we can be a platform, if we truly want to be that type of creator platform, we need to figure out how we can capture value that's first off sustainable and recurring and recreatable, and it just makes sense for us. Right now, our current method, it's something we want to focus on. It's just also something that we struggle with, right? Like we can get lost and caught up in this ability for us to want to play this role of being like almost like this we can get caught up in the idea of wanting to be this platform for creators, where we give them something that they personally cannot do themselves. We give them the ability to have a world where their NFTs can be experienced, showcased, discovered. But at the same time, we need to be able to figure out how to create a product out of it that makes sense for us to maintain, right? Yeah. And it's a difficult thing, but that is where we're focused. We're focused on bringing people into the platform as a creator and providing value for them that they may not be able to provide themselves solely.
Yeah, like how do you finance everything right now?
So the majority of our finances have kind of came through, drops. We did a recent property sale. It's funny to think like, Ellie Blobs was the initial funding for it, right? We had 2 pack sales that kind of got us started on the journey into it. We developed an Ellie Blob, battle arena game that's kind of taken off. There's like a league that's formed, like it's an unofficial league, but it should just become the official league. So people take their Ellie Blobs and battle amongst each other inside the game. It kind of like the battle like plays out in front of you in 3D space, so like people can crowd around and watch the battle come out. So a lot of funding came from those initial drops, with the airdrop of our token to the holders of those assets. And then the remainder of the majority of our funding has come from that property sale that we did in February, which introduced the ability for somebody to own property in the metaverse, decorate it with their NFTs. So instead of having, just your wallet to kind of showcase your digital assets, you have this 3D space that's your own. It's a tokenized apartment essentially, right? Or tokenized retail property where you can go in there, place your NFTs out and showcase, that you own, these things. And it's a really cool mechanic. And it's something that we want to continue to develop upon and further expand the idea, because ultimately we provide a virtual world where pretty much, anything can happen, right? It's just at the speed at which we can make it happen. So we, like, for example, the apartments, on the outside looking in, you're looking at a virtual space where I'm putting NFTs. How much value can you really put into that, right? It's cool. You can tinker with it, right? You can customize it. But where we can really advance the ideas of these properties is adding, in-game value or benefits to ownership of it. And I think that's the cool thing about a virtual space, is that you can add this, and the game, right, is you can gamify things that have benefits that other people would definitely want to have, and that's what we're kind of developing out and figuring out a lot of is how can we gamify or provide this in-game feeling of use cases for players to make these properties valuable. The market, in my mind, the retail properties already provide that functionality, right? There's value built into it in the fact that a player can own a shop, place out products. These products can link to physical goods like a Etsy shop or, Amazon or wherever their goods are at, right? And then people can purchase that directly through, that retail shop. Or if they want to sell an NFT or a drop or something like that, they basically place the asset, link it to the drop page, they purchase it. And because of like the ability to wear NFTs and spawn NFTs, they can, as soon as they own that asset, they can start placing it out inside the world and using it. So it's a balance of trying to figure out, are we providing enough use cases in the game for the things that we're developing, and we're getting there. I think the nice thing is it's something that we'll continuously see updates and continuously get improved upon, and I think people understand that at this point, right? I think we have enough people who have played Immersys and have an idea that like we haven't just stopped developing things. Anything that's been in the game is now significantly better than how it was when you first got in there. From gathering to Ellie Blob battles to the apartments, everything has just constantly just gotten. It's all moving forward, right? Yeah. It's just it's this adventure that we're on where we're trying to figure out where people want us to spend our focus.
And like while you were talking, I was showcasing some of your videos from your website over my face so people could see that with the properties and everything. And if anyone feel like, hey, I didn't get into the property sale before, under which collection do you find them, or how do you buy these properties? And let's start there.
Yeah, so the properties were done in auction format. So they were basically we ran 62 auctions for everybody. They blew out my expectations for them. I mean, they went extremely well. And the plan is to kind of release them as auctions on a periodic basis. Like the thing is their actual addresses and locations inside of Immersys. We think of like our city as this like almost like Sim City builder type thing where stuff gets added to it as we build it out essentially. So we have to so we have roads established and stuff like that. So when we want to sell property on this road inside of Immersys, we open it up for auction, and that's when you can actually establish yourself and gain ownership over that property in Immersys. So it's kind of like upland, I mean, in a way, and like kind of like uplift too as well, where there's designated plots and we auction off those plots. And then the functionality that you gain from it is either a store or, an apartment where you can showcase NFTs.
Yeah, and right now the cheapest one is $1,900 on Atomic Hub. I guess because that's a property in your collection, so I guess that's the one that people want to have.
Correct.
If you have one of these properties and you feel like, hey, I want to design this or I want to put my stuff in it, what kind of process do you have to do before it works?
Yeah, currently, I mean, it's the NFT importing process. So let's say you have a NFT that you want to have spawnable inside of Immersys. You would go through the process of importing an asset in. Then that template is now a verifiable asset for our game to check your wallet to see if you have ownership of it.
Yeah.
And then you would basically use we call it the NFT Explorer app, to place out those NFTs into the world, is how it works. And that's how you decorate it. So we have about 80 creators in there right now. We have, I believe, like 800 plus different unique templates in there as well. So you have a pretty good selection even right now, where you can go in there, take an asset from a creator or collection that you care about, and then showcase it and spawn it into the world that saves in there. And you basically can decorate your place like that.
Yeah, that's nice. And like you said that you might plan to do more of these over time, I guess, as the community grow and you have more users and everything. That is nice. If I the reason I haven't downloaded the launcher and install it, I actually had downloaded it once, I just didn't install it, so I even have it on my computer, is as a crypto person, I'm wary to install anything on my device in case that contains some kind of a keylogger or something. Like every product that is directed towards crypto people has a small increase of risk being something to steal your crypto. That goes for wallets, that goes for everything. With that said, we do install wallets, we do install a lot of things. It is just that thing, before you get to know a team, before you can build some kind of trust, you might feel scared to install it. So what's your take there, and how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, understandable, right? Like it's not an irrational fear to want to secure, something that you think needs to be, secure, right? Like if I own assets and I'm afraid to download something, I get the argument, right? At the same time, I think what we are targeting is the actual gamer, right? I think there's an audience that we're targeting that may not be the audience that exists on Wax right now. I think it's a growing audience, right? I think there's a growing desire that once you've gotten, caught in the cycle of saying, oh, there's money to be made on these NFTs, and you understand what's going on, and you interact with some of the other games that are on the platform, you start understanding NFTs more, and then you almost kind of just desire something like Immersys or a Huddle Gods or something where you're or like the Forge Arena or something like that, where you want just that additional style of gameplay that's much more familiar to what you would like once you get off Atomic Hub, like go over and open up like as soon as you're done, exploring your NFTs for the day, right? You almost have this desire for it, and I think I think to do that, we're in line with what is a custom for a normal gamer, right? Like, and I don't know how we can really say we're not, doing something bad without just like it becoming a custom, right? Like as more games become downloadable games, I think it becomes less likely that your hesitation is hung up on, is this a keylogger? And is much more like, is this a trusted publisher? Is this a game that I want to interact with? Are other players playing this game? And I think as that happens, that fear, doubt, and stuff about downloading it kind of goes away. And I think Immersys has enough in there, from our play to earn to our properties to other people being in there to the token to NFT creators creating for the platform. There's enough in there and enough like almost like vouchers, right? We're building our pledge of vouchers and supporters and an audience that is kind of giving us the credibility that I think apps should be earning, right? Like we're proving this side of things where we're not just saying that we have a 3D game and then hoping you come download it. That to me is sketchy. We have people that are interacting with the platform on a daily basis. We have creators, people that you were like, these aren't nobodies. These are people that you probably own something of theirs in your wallet. You probably interact with their communities that are these vouchers that kind of give us, the type of, I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get at. It's just...
like I understand, and I think you're correct. Like the more users you have, the more relationships people get with you and your team, the more trust there will be for the product. The more times you or other people in your team appear on video, on interviews, and on things like that, like on your YouTube channel, when you're going through the game, you're actually you also have a camera on yourself, which also that adds a layer of trust, because the people can actually see that there's a person vouching for this game and not just someone trying to hide themselves behind it. And I think those, like, it is sad that we have to have the extra layers of trust, but it is in this trustless world with blockchain, you need to add more trust for the people behind, which is interesting, but it is the current state for sure.
100%. And yeah, I mean, I think it becomes more like, I think you kind of build up this like almost like tolerance for it, right? It's a little foreign right now, right? The idea is a little bit foreign to anybody in the space. You're all you hear is bad news, right? But I think it takes a couple good, good people to come in there, show you that, it is possible. And then people, start becoming a little bit more accustomed to maybe something that they're not normally comfortable for. So I think it gets there. I think it just naturally gets there, right? Because I mean, we kind of saw how the internet kind of developed in the first place. Like everything was these like mini clip, web-based like Flash games. And then, things kind of progressed. Like you had console games, of course, but then PC gaming became the master race where you're going into Steam and downloading your game, through a Steam or something like that.
Console gamers are noobs.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it gets there. I think we're early days and we're seeing kind of that trend that I think it gets there faster, right? Because the technology exists, right? Like it's going to start off slow, but I feel like because it already exists, it'll get there much faster. Like some of these studios already develop for desktop, right? They're not going to just all of a sudden like be like, oh, we could fit this massive MMO style, large, like huge game into a web browser. It's just not possible. The browser can't handle that type of game.
I mean, a web browser is great for ease of access for people, but the trade-off is that you have a worse experience, worse graphics. You are limited to what you can do. There are a lot of limitations. I mean, you can do pretty heavy things in a browser nowadays, but then you need also a powerful computer, and then you do better. Like, take Digigon, for example. That is like a thing that a lot of people in this community has been to experienced. If you go there in the web browser, it works. Exactly, this weekend. If you go in the web browser, it works. If you download their client, it works better. Like, it is my laptop, the one I brought to a trip, it's not as strong as my desktop and everything. So when I went into the web client, I did have some lag. It wasn't as smooth as usually. I downloaded the client and it worked perfectly directly. And I even used Linux client for that, and that worked great. And I do think it makes a lot of sense to have clients to download and install for a game like this. But it also limits a little bit who can access it. Not everyone has this powerful gaming computer to play a game like this. What kind of device do you need to play Immersys right now?
Yeah, I mean, you can handle it with the medium specs, I would say. I mean, it's not like, we're building it to support a wide range of computers. It's not like we're focusing on just the highest end computer. I mean, we have low to ultra settings, right? Like the span in which you can play it is pretty wide. You're obviously going to have to play around with settings if you're on a lower end computer, whereas you could probably get by if you're a higher end computer without playing around with too much and just using basic settings. But I think we we don't have the luxury of having, a lot of people to kind of test on multiple devices. It's kind of like we can offer the game, you play around with your settings currently and figure it out. But it does support quite a wide range. I think we could support graphics cards and computers, at least we try to, that are up to about 5 to 6 years old, right? It's not like we're way too far off the mark, and most people are upgrading their computer within that period of time. Like nobody, unless you're probably not a gamer, right? Like if you have no intention of playing our game, then there's not really a point to develop it any further than that. I can understand the laptop gamer that maybe not, that may not just be that's how they play. It achieves what they need for what they like to play, but maybe doesn't have all the resources needed to play. But
to be true, laptops nowadays, they are pretty powerful and not that expensive. I would still rather go to desktop, but that's another topic. And okay, so your game right now is a lot of things. Some things make more sense for a web browser lower end audience, and some things make more sense for a gamer audience. And since you are a team of 10 people, it is not a small team, but it's not a big team when we come to the gaming space. For a gaming space, this is a very small team because there is so much you can do, and it takes a lot of time to build cool things. Which aspect do you think is the one that your team is focusing the most on in the coming 6, 12, 18 months?
Yeah. So big one is, and we've kind of already announced it, is kind of getting back into that gameplay focus, right? That's what our players want is added gameplay. Yeah. So we're going to do that through upgrading our avatar system. So this is right now, the avatars are catered towards that like AR, VR experience where it's like above the belt avatars, right? We're going to get people full body avatars. So much more like a Decentraland or Digicon, right? So that's the first update. We want to introduce combat, right? So this is player versus environment, aspects and interactions where you have a weapon or sword or bow or something like that, right? And are going out there and killing a monster or mob, in a repeatable way to get loot and get NFTs like you do when you chop down a tree. So almost completing a game loop, right? You go into the game, you have your tool, you chop down the trees, you get your logs, you go mine some ore, you get the ignite or igot or whatever it's called. I don't know how to say it, bars, right? Yeah. And then you make your sword. And then you take that sword and you go into a battle, you kill something, you get loot, and it just adds that full cycle of what a typical gamer would be used to. And that's kind of our trajectory right now. Like that is definitely our mid term goal is to get to that, roll it out, and add that additional, because it doesn't necessarily just need to be PvE, right? The player versus environment side of things, it could be player versus player too, right? Like we could create arenas with these mechanics that we'd be creating, where players can sort of do like a battle royale style thing where they can kind of, go around and fight each other and battle each other until you have one remaining, or team deathmatch. But that mechanic kind of translates across a lot of different play styles. But that's where we're focused, right? That's where we're heading. That's what we have in mind is let's get to combat and bring that into the game.
I like it. I guess we talked about this before we went live for a few minutes while we were testing audio and everything, and a lot of things that we have seen in the last year or plus in the NFT space, and if we focus on the Wax ecosystem, it is a lot of games. They call it games, but it's not really a lot. It's not that much of a game. There might be a little bit of tactic, which resource you should do now, and then which resource you need to do later. It is, in that sense, there is a strategy behind it, and if that makes it a game, sure, it is a game. But it's not immersive. You get bored really fast after you have managed to set up your whatever you want to do, if it's your mining rig or your gear. It is kind of boring, and the only thing you can really do is produce more resources, and then you sell it, and then the game economy crash. That is what we have seen with pretty much every game that launched so far. I'm gonna say. Those clickery play to earn thingies. And what I really want to see is more games where you can actually go in, you can have fun, you can invite friends, you can manage to do missions, and that mission could be set up a shop together, run this business in this metaverse. You might have this clothing store like Hobo Jack does. They are NFT guys on Wax. They have a clothing shop. Let's say they set up it in the metaverse and they run it there as well. You can go in, you can browse their things. They have their next launch and it's live in there. That like it becomes this whole new thing, and it's more fun to be there. It doesn't have to be a store. It can be, as you say, a player versus player, a player versus environment thing, where you go in and you farm materials. Perhaps you get building parts and you build a small base together, and then you can prolong. You go on, and then you have these raiding capabilities for other people. And then if you add that you can actually raid people and get their NFTs, then we have a big rage quit situation, which is really fun for me. Yep. Like I want to go in, I want to risk my NFTs. I will not bring my 101, I will not bring my most valuable item, but I will bring an NFT and I will go out and fight people and I will try to get their NFTs.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people want, right? I mean, admittedly, I mean, we've kind of fallen into this trap where it very much feels like Immersys is a clicker game, but a more immersive clicker game, right? Where you're gathering resources. We just don't have that connection to that next part that you're talking about. That's the part that gets people excited, right? We're right there, right? We have this really cool mechanic where you can gather NFTs, you can earn it, totally immersive. But we need to get from here to like here. This is where we have players, right? Yeah. Like you can only gather and grind so much, right? That's what people have been doing since the existence of Immersys, pretty much at this point, right? That's what all other clicker games offer. That's what we have. We have I like to think of it as we have like a glorified clicker right now, right? It's an immersive clicker, but we need to get to that, and that's why it is a focus of ours, is to get to that next point. Because I think a lot of people are saying they're getting to that next point, but I feel like they're going to struggle a little bit more than I feel like they're going to struggle more than us. I think we have a better opportunity to get to that because it's not locked into smart contracts and like a web interface of like, it'll never be a fun experience, right? If you go kill a monster, you want to go take your sword and swing it around and like have to eat potions and like, it has to be like live action, right? You're never going to go there and just be like, play like war, right? You flip the card over. Oh, I won, right? Like, I think some games it's suitable for, but I don't think it's ever going to be that thing that draws you back to the point where you're constantly going there. Like,
no, to me, it has to be a lot of strategy to them, and a lot of PvP, and there has to be resets. So you start from the start and you get going again. And that is something you can do without an economy. It's hard to just say, now all the tokens don't work and we have new ones. Let's go. It wouldn't really work. So you need to design it properly from the start. And like for me, I haven't been into your game, but I see what you're doing, and you can farm materials and you have these shops. It makes sense for me that the next step is that you can actually farm more things and you can build your own shop. And probably since they are selling for a lot of money, owning a shop, just building one shouldn't be something you do in 2 hours. It has to be a big thing, and perhaps the shops actually can be upgraded. You can make them bigger. Perhaps you can't build a new shop, but you can upgrade your shop. Perhaps that's the thing. Or you can build new furniture inside the shop and you can make it really cool. That would be really like a fun thing that for me feels like where you are already heading. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think another core thing to kind of put out there is how our gathering and crafting system works. Because I think it's super important to understand how that mechanic works. Is currently you play the game and you are grinding resources, you're mining, you're fishing, all that stuff. Now, on a rare chance, instead of getting an NFT asset of like the log or the fish or the ore, you find a blueprint. Now, the blueprint is a non-transferable token, which is a little frowned upon in the NFT space, but it provides a really good tool for providing proof of ownership and granting you the right to craft in the metaverse. So every single item, we don't necessarily sell anything, right? We sell the tools to get you into the activity, but then you have the ability to go ahead and mine and gather until you find these blueprints, and these blueprints function as these proof of ownership, kind of proof of progression in the game that grant you the ability to craft that item and sell yourself. So there's blueprints that are out there that have never been found by players, and if they find them, they are the only person in the entire world that can actually make this item. We can't make the item, only they can. They have to obviously gather the materials and craft it. Yeah. But that's the mechanic, right? We try and make our players that aren't creators the creators, right? Everything gets created by the players in there, and that's the progression that you get. These blueprints kind of get locked to your account. They're account bound, and then you have that. Yes, yeah, and that's how we focus it.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can sell an account technically, and then they have the True. Blueprints.
True.
But I like that there are things that you can't, like, sure, you can go and buy the tools, but you can't buy the blueprint.
Correct.
That is something that I think is very good for me as a gamer. I want to be able to work towards something, and if I have it, that is awesome. I can have it, and then I have this achievement, and I can craft new things. Sure, to sell this, I have to sell my account, but then I can't. Like, if you want all the blueprints, you buy 5 accounts. You still have to use 5 different accounts. It's not one account. So I think this adds value for people that want to put in time and experience things. And I think a non-transferable item makes sense in a lot of cases, and this might be one of them.
I think it's a mechanic that people have really liked, to be honest. Like, I personally like it, right? Like, you can either, and it creates great interaction between players, right? It creates a supply and demand mechanic where, you're not going to have all the blueprints. It's very difficult to have all the blueprints. So you create this community interaction where you have to find other people to help you. Like, it's a really good mechanic, and it's played out extremely well where, people will find a blueprint, offer their services to other people kind of repeatedly kind of form these relationships, form alliances, right? Now there's crafting like teams that in communities all around this like community wallet where, they contribute NFTs to it. They contribute their, blueprint ability to craft things to the community, and they kind of create this like mini communities and once we add like the PvP, yeah, exactly. It becomes, but it's important to have that, right? It's important to build that mechanic and that economy right into all the things that you're doing inside the game. And that's the reason why it was designed that way is let's create mini businesses for everybody, right? Is you own the ability to craft something. It's just like as if you had a talent in the real world, right? Let's say you're a shoe shiner, right? And then somebody else is a coder, right? They're probably not going to be able to achieve the same thing. So there's an exchange rate between the two of them, right? They might be able to offer a couple of shoe shines for, the development of a small little, app or a website for the shoe shiner, right? Like, there's this exchange rate and it makes sense.
Yeah, and to play the game right now, do you still need a beta access tag? Because I found
not right now.
Yeah. They are on the Atomic Hub for $1 a pop. Is people can get them but you said you don't need them right now?
Currently, we have it open to everybody. So anybody that wants to kind of come in, we've opened it up. We're figuring out when we want to kind of put that back in, because it's always nice to kind of be able to close it up, open it up and kind of allow more people to come in and experience it. But we're a little in between. Right now it's open, so anybody that wants to go ahead and play it, we totally encourage you to come in and give it a go. There's no startup cost. You can really start getting your first NFTs for 100% free, right? You download the game, you go around, pick some plants, and you'll get NFTs sent to your wallet, no cost to start up. We pay for all the RAM and all the CPU.
Yeah, and actually, like, there was a guy that posted the specs for the game. I don't wanna, Ryan, I think. I don't wanna pronounce his full name. Kashat Ryan or Tech or something like that on YouTube. But he said that like the 8 gig RAMs and a GTX 960 is everything you need. And to be honest, I think that my laptop, that I don't know how old it is, probably 6 years, have similar GPU to that, 5 or 6 years. And that laptop I bought for $800 at that time. So if you buy that on the secondary market right now, it should be able to play it. I'd rather buy a desktop, but yeah, it shouldn't be like you still need a gaming PC. It's a game to play. You need a gaming computer. So
for sure.
And if you're a creator and you feel like, hey, this is awesome, I want to have a shop, I want my stuff in there, I would like to have my NFTs in your world, what's the process to get there?
Yeah, so we've made it a little bit easier. Before we had a $150 startup fee to get into Immersys as a creator. Now, throughout the month of March, which we're encouraging everybody to kind of get involved throughout March, is you just head over to immersys.io, go to the creators page, and there's a submit page. Really, all we really need from you is a banner of your collection, your logo, and then you just put your template, a link to your collection on Atomic Hub, the template ID, and you upload the file for your asset. And then we'll reach out to you. It's about $10 for a single asset import. If you want additional functionality, such as it following you around, or being able to do some other things inside of it, as far as like becoming a wearable, then there's an additional fee where it's an additional $10. So if you want a wearable, $20. If you want your first NFT in there, just to have your name and your brand in there permanently, in that NFT Explorer, and a perfect way to be discovered, it's $10 to get started. And the nice thing is we're actually incentivizing it even further this month, in the fact that we're offering any creator, new and existing, the ability to do a collaboration pin. So we're going to help you create your first wearable asset in the metaverse. So what we're going to do is we're going to work with you to grab your logo, make an NFT that is a pin for your avatar that they can wear. We will do the drop, the promotion, everything like that. We'll set it up a rev share. We're currently doing it 70-30 towards the creator. Yeah. And then what you'll do is you basically have funds that are coming into you to hopefully fund the rest of your NFT imports, right? We're trying to take as much of the barrier to entry, as much as the cost and burden, the creator might have to endure to get their assets in. We're trying to kind of, preemptively help you by doing that first NFT wearable for you. And people are always looking to support their favorite creators, and it's always nice to have that additional use case to be able to show it in a virtual space that you support this collection. And that's kind of our offering that we're running right now. So it's this pay as you go model, but we're helping you, fund that pay as you go through offering a wearable.
That is very nice. I guess I should apply there as well.
100%.
Really fun. And like you as we're talking, I will also showcase this so people can follow more easily. But you have a different kind, like audio, 3D models, images, wearables. What type of assets should a collection have to make this really fun? Like for a wearable, for something that can follow you around. I saw in one of your videos there was some people only had like an image that can flip, and other people had a 3D object that could move around. What do people need?
So it really depends on the collection, right? Like if you're not a 3D artist, then we don't expect you to upload a 3D art, but we do historically see 3D assets do extremely well. The added benefit of them potentially being a wearable does extremely well as well, right? Because people like to express themselves in these virtual spaces. The more customization that they have for their avatar, they're willing to kind of pay a little bit more for that type of an asset historically, from what I've seen, than maybe, I think they're much more inclined to spawn an NFT that is that they just own, right? Like it's nice to have that added utility for like a 2D picture or collectible or one-of-one, profile picture. Like there is some luxury to be able to spawn that, but I think the people that actually go out and actively support the creators, it's when they have some type of 3D asset or some type of additional functionality. Metaverse is a really cool example, right? We added the ability for like a comic book style NFT. So Metaverse has imported their comic books as an NFT. So when you own their NFT, you can place out a virtual comic book and flip through the pages. And I think that'll see really cool additional collections come in that are maybe storytellers or write books or have, even like a newspaper eventually, right? Where maybe these blogs create their NFTs as create their blog posts as an NFT as well. we bring that NFT in, we create the pages, and then you can flip through, in almost like a news post in a way, right? So there's a lot of these cool little interactions that creators can use to kind of, get the full advantage. Obviously, 3D assets is where I'm telling people to go, just because historically that's where you see the most benefit.
And if I am a creator, I feel like, hey, this 3D assets, I don't really know what to do. I'm great at creating 2D art, and I want to get into this. Do you have a beginner's tip, which program to use? Are there open source ones which are easier to get into? Do you have any idea here?
Yeah, so Blender is going to be probably your easiest open source one. I mean, even if it's not you doing it, there's a lot of people in the community that can help you get there, including ourselves in a way. I feel like there's a financial benefit that creators get for doing stuff like that, right? Like I think you can, I think because of, our player base and our audience and stuff like that, like, I think you can manage it, right? Like, and we're helping you fund the import itself. So like, you could even, like with the pin aspect, right? Like you could even almost fund your first 3D asset yourself, right? But we are going to play around with this new idea where we're going to offer templates ourselves, right? So I'm not going to say too much on it just because it really hasn't been fleshed out completely, but imagine, a typical merch store, right? Like you're going to somebody's services. They're a t-shirt company that does branded, templates of a t-shirt, a hoodie, a mug, a tote bag, something like that, right? Like that's a way that we can offer, 3D assets to a creator that doesn't have, they can put whatever picture they want on it, right? Like if they want the t-shirt to be a picture of their game or the picture of their mascot, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be this box solution, but but it really kind of is, right? Like we were providing a template for people to create, a 3D asset that they normally wouldn't be able to do. And yes, we're just stamping a 2D asset on a 3D asset, but it achieves the same feel, right? Like it still gets you there.
Yeah, and that's really all you need. And like for someone who want to get into Blender, I've looked at the tutorials. It is a lot of hotkeys to learn. It is very complex to get started. But once you start to understand how to work with 3D in a program, I think you will grasp it better easily. I do all my 3D stuff and I export it as video, so I don't do it the same way. I do it in DaVinci Resolve. I'm not even sure I can export the 3D there into an actual 3D model. But I can import them in there if I wanted to. But for other people, I think it's good to know. Like Blender is free, and it's you can go and search for a Blender video. Like they have made a full animated video using Blender just to show the capabilities, and it's pretty awesome. Now I don't think you can do that the first year you're working with Blender, but
hey, I think you can. I think anything. I mean that program there's a lot of resources for it too, and that's the nice thing is it's quite popular. I think if you need to find something, you could find somebody that can help you. I played around it with myself. I'm not a 3D modeler, but I've gotten to the point where I can make like those little like they're kind of popular, but those little like landscape like areas where like you have like some water, a little island. It's like a it's like a little 3D world, like plot, essentially. You can get it done. You follow a tutorial, you go through a couple tutorials, and to be honest, it starts to make sense. Those hotkeys come pretty quickly once you understand like E to extrude, whatever. I don't know. Like I just remember E to extrude, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it does come pretty quickly. Obviously, there is that learning curve, but hey, I think it's worth it. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily need to be you doing it, right? You can find somebody to get you in there. And if you can't find somebody, we're going to try and make it as easy to start getting your first, wearable, getting that first thing into the metaverse for you.
That's really cool for people, and I think a lot of people will like that, and I guess a lot of people already have. I mean, there are a lot of collections that are already in there. I showed them before on the stream when you were talking as well. There's a big bunch of them. And I think like for me, a metaverse with NFTs, it doesn't make sense not to include other collections NFTs. It is how it should be. Like NFT enables this interaction where you can actually bring your assets from one thing into another thing. that would be really cool. I mean, if you get your PvP going and then you talk with the Forge Arena and you say, hey, you want to throw into your weapons into our game and we can use them here as well, that would be something that is really cool. Like perhaps the knife from the start and then the other weapons that they have. That is one thing that would be really cool, when you actually have one game that is fun and immersive to play, and then you can use those NFTs in that game and in this other game that is also immersive. That adds a lot of value from the get-go. And those guys love NFTs, so I'm sure they would love a situation like that as well.
Absolutely. I think we get there, right? I think we're all kind of still figuring out our little niche, right? Like I think it gets there. Absolutely. I think that's ideal. That's the message that kind of brings you here, right? Like William Quigley is going on about how the digital assets kind of, you own it, like in the big bad villains, which are these closed off like game platforms that your items are locked to it. I mean, his messaging is obviously one of the really big reasons why we're on, like, personally, I'm on Wax, right? I believe in what he's saying. And I think there is a vision behind it that we can follow up on, and I think we're getting closer and closer to doing it. I see the obstacles, of course, right? Like the asset only exists in their world. Like it has to somehow come into our game. And that's not an easy process, right? You need to, they need to either provide the product to us, or, and it can't affect the overall gain that already exists, right? Like you can't just bring in this item and throw off the balance of everything else that's inside the game, right? Like there's some technical difficulties, like there's some big barriers that kind of need to be answered. And the only way that you really see it is just one massive platform where, just doing everything. But it's slowly getting there, right? You're seeing, I think what we saw is initially art collabs, but I think as this space matures and stuff, you're going to start seeing these gaming collabs and how these resources and materials and items can start getting integrated into these immersive gameplay, this immersive gameplay that's not, shutting down another project, or is too pay to win, or something that there's a balance or a standard that gets developed that's almost just assumed amongst other players. Like I don't know, like you kind of assume there's a limitation to what you can bring into a game. Like you can't have a high poly like asset that's going to freeze everything that's on the screen, right? There's a standard that gets developed. There's a almost like a workflow, and I feel like eventually we get to that point where we develop this almost mutual understanding or workflow of where these assets need to be in order to bring them in between. And I think we're still feeling it out, right? Like a lot of people want to do what you're saying. A lot of people want to bring in and have that asset across different games, but it's not really up to the collector to decide that, right? It's coming down to these project leaders and these developers to like figure out where these partnerships, lie and where we can make it work, and then rolling that out across the the community.
Yeah, like if they got licensed to do something, they might not be able to bring it to another place either. So we don't really know how that actually plays out long term. But I'm the same as many. We love this idea where you can actually bring all your things into something new, and just importing and collections NFT into the game is easier than actually taking that as a 3D object, because that might be creating something new or a new game with something that requires a new license, while you importing an image into the wall on a game might not be a problem for the licensing. It is a gray area, but it's interesting. Definitely. And it's fun. And I think it's good that the creator is the ones that enabling this at the moment.
Correct.
So yeah, that's really nice. So if people wanna play this and they wanna go and explore, when they get into the game, what's the first thing they see? What do they need to do to find the shops, or to go and explore and find wood and things like that?
Yeah, so as soon as you get into the world, you spawn into our like central hub, our central plaza. You spawn in, everybody kind of spawns in there, and then there's this drop shop. So this is a 3D shop where you can go in there, inspect the items in there, and kind of shop the catalog of tools that are available. You can get like LED blob packs and stuff like that. Those are kind of the core offerings that we have. grab yourself a couple tools if you want. You don't need to get tools. So we can stress that, tools aren't needed, but, to get that, to unlock the ability to start gathering wood in infinite amounts, there has to be a little upfront cost for us to bear the cost of, minting these NFTs in almost an infinite, number. So you go in there, grab your tool, then you head through to the forest, and then you're in the forest with everybody else. You're chopping trees, getting NFT drops. They're getting minted directly to your wallet. If you get lucky, you find a blueprint, and that blueprint is what grants you the ability to craft, different items. These are tool upgrades. These are, different apparel and wearables, like a, mining helmet or, things like that, or a torch or whatever, to help light up areas at night. And that's kind of like the initial flow. But then we have that whole other aspect of things is where, you can own the property and go look and shop, right? Like I think there's like the masculine side of it and the feminine side of it, where like if you want to go shop in 3D space, and find some NFTs to customize your avatar, we provide that experience as well, right? So you can go in, gather, grind, the typical gamer stuff, and then coming soon, obviously, is that combat update where I think we kind of fill that loop, right? So you go in there, you get your item, maybe this is a rare item, maybe now you own a property and your property is focused on selling in-game items, right? So you design your shop with, maybe you got that super rare sword almost like a pedestal in a way, right? And it's floating in the middle of your shop. The guy can go in there and directly purchase that sword, equip it, head out, go back in and do all the battling. So you kind of create this cool little environment. But yeah, the trailer's doing a really good job of kind of showing what's in there right now. And so that's what to expect if you hop in there, and it's totally free to do. You just have to download the game off immersive.io.
Yeah, like in the trailer, we can see that you can actually go into cave and you can find some pyramid thing. You can also, like, if I go in and my goal is to get as many blueprints as possible, should I go and shop wood, shop blocks? Should I bring my hatchet and just go and shop everything, or should I try to explore places where people have not been? Or
So you will be getting blueprints from the gathering, right? Yeah. You're not going to just find a blueprint right now. I think we get to that point for sure. Like, I think eventually, there might be random drops where, sort of like the Alien World style, where if you mine on that thing, you might get an NFT from a different collection. Like, we want to get to that point where, like, you're in there and maybe you find a little treasure chest that spawned over there, and you open it and it's like, an NFT from a collection that maybe's funded this wallet, with some prizes for them to like, for the player to find, right? Like, it's, there's a lot of things that we could do, but right now the blueprints are solely coming from, these activities of gathering. Like, picking the plants costs nothing. Like, there's no tool requirement. You just need your hands. You go ahead and run around, you gather the plants, and then you get the string blueprint, and then you use the plants to create the string. And then the string is used in the fishing rod, and it's used in the nets and all that stuff. And then everybody kind of needs other things, right? The guy picking plants has the blueprint to craft the string, but the guy who's catching the butterflies and the bugs needs an upgraded tool, so they have to buy the string off the guy, picking plants. The person that needs like the potion needs to get the items off the person catching bugs. The guy fishing, making the potions. Like, there's all this interactivity between everybody doing their own little activity.
Can I jump?
You can jump. You can 100% jump. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That is like, if you go into anything and you can't jump, I don't know what. Like, the biggest disappointment with Fable 3, that game, is that I cannot jump. Like, I don't know why. It is such a thing. Like, the first thing I do when I run around, I just hit the space bar and I jump all over the place, and I don't know why. But if you can't jump, it is.
You can jump. You could go anywhere you really want, to be honest. There's some areas that we're just blocking off. Yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, but for the most part, you can't really break much, right? Like, if you're going to gather an NFT, that's what you're doing, right? Like, it doesn't really matter if you hop up to the top of the building. There's nothing up there, right? Like, what are you going to break? Like, there's not there. I could see it maybe getting a little bit more dicey if we added some type of like lose your NFT mechanic, right? Like, there's not really destructive mechanics in Immersys right now, right? There's no backtracking. It's all progression forward. So why, it's not like there's too many locked areas or things that you can kind of glitch into and get an advantage right now, right? So it's pretty open world. I think as we develop those other things, maybe we need to get a little bit tighter on where you can go and how you can get there and what you can glitch through. Because like right now we have like an app that you can download to that virtual tablet. It's like a drone controller. So you can spawn a drone out into the world, hop on the drone, and then fly yourself up. But you can use that to kind of get over barriers and things like that. Like you can kind of, go to places that we don't necessarily want you to go. Yeah, exactly. Essentially, you just can't move with it, right? Like you can only go, up and down with it and jump over the invisible barriers. But I mean, there's not really too many negative things that can happen. Like you're not necessarily, and the other big thing is, and I think a lot of people, don't necessarily understand, is that you're not necessarily logged into your wallet in the game, right? You kind of send that data over, and we're more of like a platform on top of everything, where if you're interacting with the blockchain, you're like going into the browser and signing your transaction that way. But there's nothing that, like, nothing's connected to your wallet when you're in Immersys. Everything is kind of, we use your wallet, and then we allow you to kind of interact with the platform that way. So there's nothing bad that can happen. Is the thing.
If can I use Anchor, or is it Cloud Wallet, or what options?
Anchor works best. So you can log in with both wallets to get into the game, but once you're inside the game, because it is a desktop application, the ability for you to pop out the Anchor wallet allows you to do everything inside the game, right? You could purchase your NFT directly, whereas the Wax wallet, because of that pop-up and it's just unfriendliness to Unity and desktop applications, right? You do have to pop the browser out from the game and then sign the transaction in the browser outside and then come back into the game.
Yeah, and like if anyone want to know how to do it, on academy.anio.io, I have a tutorial to how to set it all up, to create your Anchor account and everything. So it's everything is there, step-by-step tutorial for pretty much everything on Wax. If you didn't know already, go and you can find it. I will link to that, how you set up an Anchor wallet, in case you don't have one. So that is that is good. I think that it is just a matter of which day I will go in and I will explore it, and I will shop some trees. That
awesome.
And like so what type of shops can people expect to find now if they go in and haven't been there before, or should that be a secret, or what's the idea?
I mean, there's a variety of different shops in there. I mean, you have, you could go in there and buy like a mask, right? Like from a collection and wear it on your avatar. You have people that are kind of just using their shops as a way to advertise their projects, right? Like there's different ways that people are doing the shop things. They could just be, taking you to a drop and then selling it. And then maybe now it's a spawnable in there that you could decorate your apartment with. So there's a variety of different shops. I think some people, just like with any blockchain, some people are buying the shops as an investment thing, right? There's no plan to ever decorate it. They just want to have it and offer it to sell it. Other people are creators and have the NFTs inside the game, and they want to go ahead and decorate it and offer services through it. So there's a variety. I mean, you kind of really have to go in to kind of see what's there. But yeah, I mean, you can expect to see shops basically and they're set up and you can interact with them, and it's kind of unique.
Yeah, it's very nice.
One of a kind.
It's very nice, and I think I'm like, just by having a conversation with you, I feel more at ease at downloading and installing this, and I think a lot of people will feel the same that watch this and get to know you as a person and your team. And like, we have been chatting for 75 minutes almost, which is a long time. So let's try to wrap this up in some way. Is there something we haven't talked about that we should mention? Something that you want to bring up? I mean, we have talked about a lot of things already.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a lot. I mean, I think we covered, the core things, right? We have this creator focused, game where creators can bring their NFTs into the platform. You have the property sales, the ability to decorate a location, offer, this one of a kind experience where you're selling like digital assets or even physical products directly through a virtual world. You have this community of people that are relying on each other's because of some of the mechanics in the game with the blueprints where, not everybody's going to have everything. So there's just some supply and demand, this pretty unique play to earn experience where you're not having to sign a transaction in order to get that NFT in return. You're just playing a game, and then you're earning NFTs as you're going through it. And then obviously kind of what's in our line of focus is getting to that combat update, right? Where we kind of add that next portion of it. So, we keep rolling out things, and I think we covered a majority of it throughout it. I think we did a pretty comprehensive, a good idea of what you're expecting when you get in there. And yeah, I mean, you were pulling up the Academy stuff, and I just have to say, I mean, your contributions to Wax are, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you've done, is has helped me personally kind of figure out and navigate, a place that could be scary for somebody coming in. So, that what you're doing is obviously benefiting not just my project, it's benefiting anybody on Wax's project. So, of course, thank you for that as well.
Thank you. And yeah, like, blockchain is scary. You add value, makes more scary. If you make one mistake, you might lose everything. And if people don't realize that, it like take a half hour, an hour, 2 hours, and try to learn a little bit more. I try to break it all down. I try to add more content. I have 2 more courses on the way for the Academy. And well, it's a lot of work, a lot of time goes into it, but I think it's a requirement. We need it. And it's the idea with the Academy is to be a place for people to, in the community, to support people, those that are already here, to link specific episodes for other people. This is how you do this task. And then if they want, they can go and learn more there if they want to. It is a one-stop shop to learn as much as possible, which I think is required. Before, you had to go to this Medium page, this YouTube, this website, and you didn't really know where to go to find what information. And the goal is to have everything, or as much as possible, gather in one area where they can learn what the NFTs are, what Wax is, what a blockchain is, what a everything. And everything for free. I don't want to charge for information. I want to help people. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you kind of have to approach it in that way. I mean, I feel like even from our standpoint, when we first approached like the design of Immersys, right? Like we felt like we were providing a little bit of, value to the ecosystem in the way where like we felt like the ability for you to spawn an asset into 3D space is almost like a tutorial as to why NFTs have value, right? Like if you don't own the NFT, you don't have access to this, and you don't have access to this item in the world, right? Like that shows digital ownership in probably one of the best, ways that you could possibly show it is, hey, either I can show this to you or I can't show it to you. Either I have it or I don't have it. And I think that's a big part of the idea of NFTs, right? These are verifiable, 100%, authentic, like digital assets. And when you have a 3D space, I think you understand it a lot more. Like you could see somebody spawn something, you're like, I don't own that. I don't have it. Yeah. I don't, how do I get it? And then you're forced to kind of go out there and get it yourself. It plays, I think the more people contribute to that idea, like I think people still need to understand what NFTs are. And it comes from, wallet setup to understanding why this is valuable, right? Like people need to show why an NFT is valuable and why, why they need to, treat account security safe,
and why this is noob friendly and important to have for someone, just to minimize user mistake. But yeah, there's a lot of things, and I'm very happy that you joined. I think we had a good conversation. I hope people learned more about you and your team and your project and are excited to test it out and go and explore it. I'm for sure excited to see where you guys go moving forward when you add more of these gamer aspects to this universe, metaverse. I don't know what we should call it. The world, next level world where people can go and explore and really spend a large part of a day and enjoy it. And when they go out, they feel like they have done something fun. Yeah, it is very nice. We need breaks from reality. Reality can be pretty dark at times, so we need 100%. Games, and it had to be fun.
100%.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this and building this, man.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. Like I said, I don't know if we get here without you. I mean, admittedly, right? Like that's how it is. But now that we're here, we have an awesome team. Everybody's working super hard to kind of provide for the community in ways that we feel like benefit it, right? As a whole, I think we at some point could be something that really is fundamental to Wax. Like you associate Wax with Immersys in a way, right? Like it's maybe the first way you come into Wax is you see friends in this metaverse and you want to join in, and then you get your wallet set up, and then you start collecting your NFTs and kind of kind of steamrolls into, you know, people interacting with the community as a whole. So yeah, I mean, thank you again for having me. Awesome conversation. And thanks for everybody that came in and watched, of course.
Yeah, thanks for everyone coming, and links to Immersys in the description. You can find everything there, website, Twitter, Discord, and you can go and have fun. And yeah, subscribe, like, enjoy this, share it to whoever you think likes it, and have a good one. Peace.
Bye-bye.
A Bitcoin bull is all I got left. Sold my clothes, gold no less. Was a circling, hard hands. This man stronger than the average man. I'm not the boss.